a certain simplicity to it. And I think it helps you delve into and understand the never-changing human psyche.
Well, we go back to the free land concept, which is tapping into and using that concept we describe as the something for nothing self-delusion. Well, it was working back then, and it works today, because it taps into the never-ending, never-changing human psyche.
Well, much of what's talked about today in the advertising and marketing world has really lost touch with the human psyche. And it's going after something else. I mean, it's no secret, many advertising agencies are aiming first for awards and then for results. Or maybe it's awards, billing, and then results. As
ego.
opposed, yeah,
It
ego,
goes with the
sure.
awards.
If you've read Gravitational Marketing, you remember we talked about the ego versus effectiveness. And when you worship at the altar of effectiveness, results, you find that results and effectiveness comes from having a very keen understanding of the human psyche. And so one of the first things that we look at when we look at old advertising is to try and understand what it was that they were trying to tap into, what human emotion, psychological trigger were they trying to tap into in that old ad, and can we tap into it today? Certainly to understand basic marketing fundamentals and principles, because the marketing fundamentals and principles came from this old stuff. And today they're only repeated, reworked, bastardized, reshaped, reformed, experimented with. But the fundamentals existed back then in pure form.
We want to use old advertising to gain insights on what's possible. A lot of time when you look back on old advertising, you say, wow, I can't believe they were using advertising to do something like get people to colonize America, or war propaganda, or make smoking vogue. You know, like all of the things that advertising and promotion were used for, you start to realize the possibilities of advertising. And so you go back in history, you can see, man, what has advertising been able to accomplish? What are we trying to accomplish? And is there a way to use advertising and gain some cues from the advertising that was used to accomplish a similar mission?
Right? You want to learn from the mistakes of others. That's the benefit of the historical record, is that we can find out what worked and what didn't work. If you recall, in the Invasion of the Profit Snatchers book, we tell the story of our discovery of the commercials in the garbage bags. And then going back and comparing which of these commercials worked and which of these commercials didn't. And learning from that. And from that, drawing the wisdom of how to make a winning commercial versus a losing commercial. I mean, frankly, we've been looking at old advertising from the start. To look for unusual tactics that might still work. Why not?
In the magic world, a lot of people, I study a lot of magic history. Some of the best magical effects come from texts that were written hundreds of years ago, where people explain tricks that they had created or were performing, and you say, "Wow, that's a great idea. That's a great effect." And then you can modernize the method of accomplishing the effect, but the effect is just so strong, or sometimes even the method is so strong, even several hundred years ago. So the past is powerful.
It's an opportunity to behold strategic thinking of marketing geniuses, and look at it through the lens of time, like I said, to be able to know. They say that great artists, great composers are only usually recognized after their death. And similarly, we're going to share today 13 really big ideas, big principles, and they're each from a different marketing genius, and all of the 13 marketing geniuses are dead. And many of them heralded only after their death. And But the lens of time gives us the opportunity to know what worked and what didn't, like I said.
And ultimately, for this presentation, the goal here is to look at the old advertising so we can win in the future by applying these lessons from the past. I mean, that's the goal. To boldly go into the future so we can capitalize and profit.
And also I think that exploring these principles, that it's going to make a lot of sense out of the things that we do. You're going to say, now I get it. Now I see why they do it that way. You'll kind of we'll reveal our sources to you. So, there's a lot of misdirection, smoke and mirrors, and clutter and confusion in the world of marketing today, and only over the past really 5 or 10 years. With the development and massive growth of Google, social media. And now people who talk about marketing are engaged in marketing, as all of you should be. It's very easy to become encumbered by tools and tactics and miss the strategy. We have an article that we published some time ago. The title was Beware of Best Practices. And best practices, which should be best practices, right, as the name gives, are generally overly focused with tools and tactics and have often left out or failed to consider the real strategy behind them. And certain tools, tactics, and techniques may work momentarily, but principles and strategies can work for the long haul.
Well, and talking about boldly going and innovations and breakthroughs for the future, a lot of people, when they're looking for those ideas that are going to take them to the next level or to uncharted territory, they're looking for a tactic to take them there. My contention is that there are already plenty of tactics, tools that we can use to go to another level than we are right now. The problem is, often, the tools and tactics themselves are mistaken for the thing that will work. But they're just tools and tactics. They're only good if we apply the science and strategy to them. And often, the people who are teaching or building or creating the tools and the tactics are not building them on the fundamentals and foundations of the strategy and science that has worked over history, through history.
Which means they're destined to fail.
Which means they're destined to fail. So what we have to do is we have to take the tools and tactics that we have, and we have to learn and understand the science and strategy, and then we have to do something that nobody's done before. We have to apply the science and strategy to the tools and tactics we already have, and then we can boldly go somewhere with the same tools and tactics that other people have never been able to achieve.
Very powerful. So let's go deeper. Let's dig in here. We'll examine the first big principle idea, the first dead